Hello Dino friends, I was looking at the roadmap post a little more and wanted to share some additional tips on how to prepare before Tier 4. We're going to look at potential engraving changes in detail and share my strategy on this criteria before the update. Since the West is going to get this much later, there will be more time for you, so listen closely if you can. Let's go over the basics first. Engravings are based on books you read, meaning accessories are bound to separate system in arc passive. So to go over an example, if I read Grudge up to Legendary, which is 20 books, it would be 12% base, 3%, and then 3%, so it will be 18% damage total increase. If I read it up to Relic, it will be 12 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, so 21%. The increments are by 5 books, and reading 5 will increase by 0.75% on the Grudge engraving, so this is the base here. If I have not read anything, you would just get the base of 12%. If I read all of the heroic books, it will be 3%, so it will be 15% total. And if I read up to maybe just 5 legendaries, it'll be 0.75, so the total will be 15.75, and so on and so forth. So the goal is everyone's going to have legendary books. The Grudge engraving is going to be 18% when the patch happens, and when you read all of the relic books, it's going to be 21, but we're going to progress by increments of 5, just like so. Stones are a bonus attribute to the engraving itself, meaning based on what stone you cut, you get to increase the engraving's bonus even further. Looking at Grudge again, you have 7 on Grudge, so you have level 2 bonus. You will get additional 3.75% damage on top of what you have read. So looking at the Grudge engraving again, this example player has read up to 15 legendary books because it has 2.25% here. So the total math would be base 12%, plus 3% from heroic, and then plus 2.25 from reading up to 15 legendary books, and 3.75 for having a 7 Grudge stone. This number is going to be listed at the top side as total bonus for every engraving. So you don't have to do the calculations yourself, the system is going to do it for you, and it's going to be listed at the top. So thinking about this, let's look at the example from the written roadmap that they gave us. Cursed Doll has 17% total damage, and Barricade has 14.75% damage. Going over Cursed Doll, this number comes up because it would be base 8%, and then Heroic Book up to 20, Legendary up to 15, and Stone at level 2 to yield 17%. And going over Barricade, this number comes up because it will be base 8%, Heroic Book, Legendary Book, and Relic up to 5 books to yield 14.75%. This is very important because it's safe to assume that stone bonuses are linear increases. This is very important because it is safe to assume stone bonuses are linear increases at increments of 0.75 on basic damage increase engravings. Level 3 on stone feels more because it ignores level 8 faucet, so it jumps double, which is 1.5%, so it'd be 3, 3.75, and then 5.25. It's ignoring the one between that. You don't know how special engravings are going to be like Raid Captain and Keen Blunt, but the general damage increase engraving like Barricade, Cursed Doll, Grudge, etc. feels like it's going to be the same math. However, learning this mathematical stuff, it gives a good idea that you actually don't need to force cutting stones that have adrenaline. Adrenaline stone is actually less efficient too because it gives attack power. Therefore, we can pretty much cut any stone from the 5 engravings you get to hope to get the highest faucets possible. So looking at my Gunlancer, I can pretty much cut any stone from the 5 engravings. And class engraving is not going to be existent, it's going to be on your accessory for the arc passive. So I can choose one more default engraving, and this could be something like Barricade, Sableye status, and etc. The problem about aiming for a 9-7 stone was you needed to decide on which 7 to aim for, usually adrenaline. So you need to buy expensive premium stones with spending payons on top of that. Since the stone limitations are much more lenient, I would highly suggest to keep an eye on the free acquired stones from dailies, making sure you mark favorites on the engravings and filter them properly as well, seeing 2 favorite engravings only. And when you actually set your filters, you can set them as if you see 2 engravings that are favorited, it's going to be marked. So in this case, I opened up a bunch of stones from trading. Some of the star ones are going to be the engravings that I've selected. And if I press the blue button, I get to dismantle all the bad ones, and then I get to check the stones that I want. So when you filter out a bunch of stones, there are a lot of more stones that you can actually cut. So like Master of Ambush and Keen Blunt, you can cut that. Master of Tenacity and Cursed Doll, you can cut this as well if you're a Berserker player that plays Mayhem. And for support stones, you have something like a Match Extreme and Max Mana. That works as well. And you have other things like Drops of Ether and Max Mana. Like, all these stones can potentially be cut. And remember, you can send stones by mail to your own characters for free. For the support stones I have, I can pretty much send it to my Bard, and my Bard can cut it. I believe, again, the biggest problem was trying for 9-7 was the potential cost. But if you gather enough free stones that falls under your criteria of builds, it doesn't hurt to try before the tier 4 update. So this is what I'm currently doing on my characters right now. My Gunnesser is getting some stones that have engravings like Grudge, Supercharge, Curse Stall, Barricade, Stabilize Status, Master of Combat, etc. And my supports are also planning to save some stones that includes Max MP and Match Extreme. In other words, don't dismantle your stones. Try cutting them if it falls under the category of engravings you're planning to use. Hopefully this helps your planning on T4. And as always, thanks guys, bye bye!